Hello, my name is Peter. I'm here today at Nelcos Distribution, and I'm here to chat with you a little bit about the tools that you'll need in order to install architectural vinyl on a variety of surfaces. So I've got a variety of tools in my toolkit, and probably the most important tool that I've got is my pouch. My pouch will hold all kinds of different items in it, including knives, squeegees, tape, measuring tapes, and pens and pencils. In your toolkit, the most important tool that you've got is your squeegee. And I've got a few different squeegees that I'm going to show you and talk to you about today. So I've got 3 different squeegees that I use on a regular basis. This first white squeegee is a fairly hard, stiff plastic. This is great for installing any smooth materials that are fairly thick. I've then got a medium plastic squeegee, which this is the squeegee that I use the most. It generally will help me on an all-round basis and will help with some of those curves that I need. The gold squeegee here is the softest. This one will help with all complex curves that we've got. And you can see on each squeegee, I've got 3 different types of felts on them. The first is a fairly aggressive Velcro. This really helps when you're working with materials that have a lot of texture to them. So material that's a fabric like vinyl. This will just help with the install. This felt squeegee is fairly soft and smooth. This felt applicator here is really good for any smooth, glossy surface. This will help ensure that you don't damage any of the vinyl that you're using or scratch it. This again is another Velcro that I use, but it's not as aggressive as this first one. This again is really good for any surface that's textured. These are the 3 squeegees that I have in my toolkit and I use every single day. So I'm going to show you how to use my blue squeegee with a small piece of film. Basically, we want to start to peel some of the vinyl backing back, and then we're just going to move along with our squeegee and really get a lot of force down and pressure down to apply that film. As you can see, there's no bubbles, and it's taken out all of any of those bubbles and really adhered our material to the surface that we're applying on. Next to squeegees, the most important tools in my toolkit are my cutting tools. I've got a variety of knives and cutting tools that I use on a regular basis. The first one is what's called a snitty. This allows me to cut large pieces of vinyl quickly and easily without damaging any surfaces below. The next snitty that I have allows me to cut paper backing away without cutting the vinyl material itself underneath. This comes in really handy when you're prepping your material for install. The next is a standard knife. This is my favorite knife that I use on a regular basis about 90% of the time. And as you can see, you can easily just cut material away without worry. I've also always got a pair of scissors with me so that just in case I need to do a complex cut or a curve, and sometimes just easier using a pair of scissors, I always have extra blades with me. And then I also have a larger X-Acto knife that I use. Cutting tools are essential to making any job complete, and I use them every day. There's a variety of cutting tools and knives that are out there. There's a variety of blades that you can use. I suggest practicing with all of them and finding out which ones you prefer and which ones you like the most. In order to get a nice, clean install, you have to start with a clean surface. And in my toolkit, I've got a variety of elements that I use in order to prep surfaces and clean them. The first is lint-free paper towel. I then have just a non-scented, ungreased dish soap that I mix into water. So I've got my soapy water mixture. I then use isopropyl alcohol, which is 50%, which gets mixed into water. I also have primer, which helps promote adhesion on any rough surfaces. And then I've just got my paintbrush. I'm going to get into a lot more detail in another installation video when it comes to prepping surfaces, and I'll tell you a lot more about each of these products. I've got a variety of measuring tapes that I use. This I generally will have in my pouch because it's small, it's handy, it's great for doing small measurements. But if I've got something that I need to measure a little bit longer, I'll use this one, and it fits also in my tool pouch and it's not too heavy. However, if I've got to measure something that's really high up and it needs a lot of strength, I'll use a measuring tape like this one because it allows me to really access something, whether it's outside or far away. The last thing that I bring to every site with me is a really good ruler. This ruler is used for two purposes. One is obviously we can measure with it, but most importantly we can cut nice, smooth, straight lines with it. And this has a feature with that you can hide your thumb and your finger in behind and allows you to easily, safely cut. These are the measuring devices that I have with me at all times. So one of the things we always talk about safety, and we're like, oh, you know, you have to have a safe blade. I had a boss that I was working with before. He was using a ruler that didn't have this safety guard. It was just a ruler like this, and he was cutting, and unfortunately, the knife jumped off the ruler and cut off a huge chunk of his thumb. And he actually went to the hospital and they had to put an iron on there and cauterize it. So having a safety ruler like this, yes, it's more expensive. However, it can save you a deadly trip to the hospital and a lot of blood. Anyway, heat guns are a vital tool to the install of architectural films. You'll need them anytime you need to stretch material over an edge, around a corner, or into a crevice. This heat gun here has two settings, low and high. There are other heat guns that allow you to adjust the amount of heat that puts out, but I find that this one is the most important. I'm going to show you how to quickly use a heat gun in order to warm up this material and get it around the corner of this table. We are also going to have some other videos that you'll be able to see a more in-depth look at heating and stretching materials and using heat guns. But as you can see, I've just evenly heated this up. I'll be able to turn it off and then stretch the material into place around the corner of this table. As you can see, I've got a nice, even application around this tight corner. Some of the other tools that I have in my kit are preparation tools. And by preparation tools, I mean preparing a surface, which again, we'll talk about this further in another video. But a few of the tools that I have are a plastic razor blade. This allows you to clean off a surface without damaging it. I also have a razor scraper. This you have to be careful with depending on the surface that you're cleaning. It's not always used. Next, a sanding block, pretty straightforward. A palm sander, and then I use this trick. I've got a paintbrush that helps me actually whisk away a lot of the dust after I've sanded a surface. And these are some of my prep tools. The last thing I wanted to go over are just some miscellaneous items that I have in my toolkit. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff, but these are kind of the essentials that I always bring with me. Always extra knives. I have backup knives to my knives that I have in my tool pouch, always. I've got micro squeegees. This red one is a little softer than this blue one. They're fantastic for getting into any sort of corner or tight edge that you really need to poke that vinyl into. I always have pens. You never know when you got to write down a measurement or mark down vinyl. I've got a small little tool that has different blades, a little screwdriver with a multi-tool bit. Comes in really handy. I always have painter's tape. You never know when you have to hang material up. It's also even great sometimes just to mark corners. I've got a glove. This glove allows me to install vinyl at high heat without burning my fingers. Really makes the job a lot easier. I always have some protein bars with me. You never know when the day runs a little long. Get some extra energy into you. Importantly, I always have my small little emergency first aid kit. Lots of band-aids, you get a lot of paper cuts, a lot of cuts from razor blades. This comes in really handy. The last thing you might be looking at is you're wondering why I've got this carpet here. This is a little trick I learned from my European friends. They basically bring carpet to job sites and allows them to actually cut vinyl on it really easily without damaging the floor below. You might be in a really nice apartment, a really nice house, they've got wood floors, and you got to trim material. Just with a regular knife, cut it straight across, you get a nice clean cut, Cuts it easily, no mess, and as you can see, obviously the carpet's fine, but most importantly, the floor below is fine. And these are just a couple of my miscellaneous items that I've got in my toolbox. I got a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Guys, I hope that you found this video helpful and informative of my toolkit, showing you some of the tools that I use on a regular, everyday basis. Let me know if there's any tools that I missed or tools that you would suggest that I should add to my toolkit. Feel free to post those in the comments. Also, feel free to ask us any questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Also, check out our additional videos that we've got, basically getting into more depth and detail on a lot of installs, products, and also some of the things that I showed you earlier in more detail. Be sure to like us, follow us, and check out our other videos that we've got posted. And I hope that this helps you guys in your everyday work, and happy wrapping.